Hello Internet, welcome back to the channel. Today we are reviewing the release 2.6, which includes 43 changes. So it's a big release. I'm going to quickly review what changed in 2.6. But first of all, I want to stress this, that since it's a significant release, you really want, before you upgrade to 2.6, you really want to back up your website and copy your production website to a staging environment and update Advanced Themer there, okay? Because we are messing with front-end and back-end settings, so internet is always a strange environment with bugs, and you don't want to lose data. Make sure to first upgrade on staging, make sure everything is working, and then push it on production. Okay. The second thing is this release integrates a new CSS variable mode. So it's deeply integrated with Bricks. And since Bricks released the variable manager on 1.9.8, Advanced Themer is now compatible only with 1.9.8 version of Bricks. So if you don't have upgraded to 1.9.8, don't upgrade Advanced Themer either. Okay, keep an old version for now, because 2.6 requires 1.9.8 to be installed on your server. Okay, if you forget about it, you will have a notice inside the backend that says that Advanced Themer is only compatible with Bricks 1.9.8. This is really important. Okay, once you are safely upgrading Advanced Themer and Bricks, you can enjoy the new features of this release. So, of course, the CSS Variable Integration with a new full-size variable manager in Advanced Themer, with a lot of tweaks that I'm going to review in a moment, and also a revamped variable picker, which is much more powerful than the previous one. Okay, some new addition. The new additions are the focus point, new advanced settings to hide and remove elements inside the builder or on the front end, the ability to merge global classes, and a new text-to-speech converter in the AI toolbox. Okay, aside from these new additions, we have a lot of user experience improvements that I'm going to review in this video. A better strict editor view with the ability to control which fields your editor is able to see, to manage inside the builder. So now it's not only possible to manage the whole category, so like all fields of all the images on the website, but you can handpick the control of any specific element inside the builder that your editor has access to. Okay, really powerful. We have also new default settings to get started in no time. So it respects the configuration that I reviewed in a previous video. If you didn't watch it yet, you can go in the channel and check the video with the recommended settings to get started with Advanced Themer. Now the default values, the default settings inside the theme settings are mirrored to these recommendations. There are also some deprecated tweaks, since Bricks integrated some native tweaks in the last version. And I'm going to speak about the new bundling policy of ACF as well. So keep watching this video if you want to see all the new changes in Advanced Themer 2.6. Okay guys, the first thing I want to show you is the new CSS Variable Integration. So for this, I just set a fresh installation of WordPress, and I'm running Advanced Themer 2.5.3 on Bricks 1.9.8, right? And you see we have on the old version of Advanced Themer in global CSS variables, we have all our categories, CSS variables categories, typography, spacing. I also added some custom variables here. And if we go inside the builder, I just created a sample page here. And if we open the variable manager, we have the old version on the sidebar. And you see that our global variables are read-only, so we can't modify them, but they are listed, of course, inside the variable manager. Okay, right now what I want to do, once I updated 1.9.8, I want to update Advanced Themer. So let's go in plugins. I'm going to deactivate 2.5.3. This is just because I'm using a development version, but of course, when 2.6 will be released, you just have to update it, okay? Then I'm just going to activate 2.6 for now and go back inside the theme settings. And you see inside the CSS Variables tab, we don't have the variable categories anymore. Typography, spacing, all gone, right? Because from now on, all these global CSS variables have been migrated to the builder. Okay, so if I come back to my page now and refresh, let's see what changed. Okay, let's now reopen the variable manager. And first thing you see, we have now a full-size manager. Of course, you can change it. You can append it to the sidebar like before. Okay. But now you can manage all your variables inside a full-size screen. Okay. The first thing I want to show you is all the variables have been migrated to the manager. Okay, all our values are here now. And on the left side, we see that we have our categories, right? Typography, spacing. If I click on spacing, I will see all my variables set before in the theme settings. Now they are converted inside the variables, in the variable manager. And it's not only inside the AT variable manager, but if I open now the bricks CSS variable and go here, you see that all my categories are here and the corresponding variables too, right? But as you can see, if you want to manage, for example, the font, let's go to typography, you see that now we have some complicated clam functions. And it's really difficult to manage them inside the bricks manager. So my recommendation is to go back here and open the variable manager from AT. And you see that our same typography variables, which use clam functions, just need to be managed using the minimum and the maximum values for clamps. Of course, if I change my clamp value to static, let's click here, you see again my really complex clamp function here. But it's also really easier to manage in the Advanced Themer Manager compared to the bricks one, because there is just more space to do it. But I wouldn't recommend it to go like inside the static values, since you have the clamp function. Just click on the clamp, and now you can manage them just by setting the minimum and the maximum value. All right. I want to show you a couple of enhancements to the variable manager. So of course, you can move the variable through the list and reorder them as you want. You can do the same with multiple variables and move them as you want. You can also reassign variables to different categories. So if I want my H4 to go into spacing, I just drag and drop to spacing, and if I click on spacing, I have my font H4 inside the spacing. Let's put it back in the typography right here, and it also works for multiple variables. So if I want to put H4, H5, H6, and I want to move them in border, okay, let's just move them into border, and if I click on border, my H4, H5, H6 are correctly moved into this category. So this is for the reorder. You can of course add your global variables from here. So now my test variable, and I click enter, and now my test variable will be inside the border, and I can assign a custom value here. Okay. Of course, you can also import CSS variable using the old import function. This was already available in the previous version. And you can, of course, add the new category, rename, etc., etc. Nothing strange in here. So my recommendation is to use a full size when you want to actually manage your values, reorder them, create categories, and things like that. But the advantage to have the manager on the sidebar is you can see the differences, the editing live on the preview. So for example, if I now assign this element, let's go in typography, and let's say font H4, no, H1, let's say H1. Okay, now I want to open my AT variable manager, and if I change the value from H1, H1, where is H1? We are not in border, we are in typography. H1 here, if I change the value from the variable, you see that the value of, the font size in the preview window is changing according to my changes, right? So if you want to preview the edits on your variables, I would still recommend to use the sidebar. But if you need to manage your variables in a more full-size view, this is available now to you. Okay? Now, you could ask, since now you can edit global variables inside the builder, what is the difference? The difference is between global variables and theme variables. So right now, of course, the difference is minimal, because now you can edit your global variables, you can add new ones, etc. These things you weren't able to do it before, because all the management of the global variables were in the backend. Okay, so now the difference is really minimal. The difference is theme variables will override the global variables. They have more priorities. Okay, so if I create now AT font H1, okay, in the theme variable, not in global variable anymore, and I'm going to put 10 and 20 pixels as minimum. Okay. If I come back here, you see my text, my font size here is now with the theme variable. Why? because the theme variable has more priority compared to the global variables. So you can override some global variable that will apply on the whole site and choose to pick theme variable to override the value of the global one. This is the main advantage to use theme variables. But if you are going to use the same variable over the whole site and you are not planning to override them with the theme variables, my recommendation is to now use global variables everywhere, okay? Because it's easily manageable from the builder, and you may not make a confusion between global and theme variables. So if you feel comfortable to use only global theme variables, nothing wrong about it. Now, theme variables are like some picky scenarios where you want to apply different overrides over different themes on your website, and in most cases you won't need them anymore. All right. The thing I want to show you now is the variable picker. So the variable picker has been revamped to adapt to this integration. So if we now open the variable picker, you see that the UI is now different compared to before. Now we have drop downs separated by categories, right? All my categories are here. The first thing I can do is I can move my categories inside the picker. So I don't want my theme category to be first, but I want to be the last one, or I don't know, at half, for example. And now I change it. My typography is now first, okay? To see my variables inside typography, I just have to click on the drop down and I will see my category here, my variables here. When I over the variables, I can see the change inside the preview window like before. And let's say I want the typography variables to be always open, because now if I close the variable picker and reopen it, it will be closed as default, okay? But you might not want to reopen the drop downs over and over for variables that you use continuously, okay? So you might want typography and maybe spacing, let's say, to be open by default and the other one closed, right? You can easily do that because now we have an icon here, collapse by default. Just click on it and it will become expanded by default. Same on spacing. And if I close and reopen the variable picker now, both categories will be open by default. So you can now customize the variable picker per your needs. You can reorganize them. You can set the default collapse status for them, and you can also create global variables from the picker. So let's say I don't want to use any of these typography values, but I want to set my custom value. Okay. Just click enter, and now custom value has been added as global variables. Let's say I want 3M. Okay, close it, and you see that custom value has been added to font size, and the value is 3am. Okay. So you don't have to reopen the variable manager, add your value, come back to the variable picker, choose the one you created. You can do everything on the fly. Okay, reopen it. I want to add a new value, my value. I want to be 4M this time, and boom, done. Okay, so the workflow is really, really fast. Okay, I believe that's everything for the CSS integration. And let's move on to the next the next tweak in 2.6. Okay, so now I want to show you the new additions. There are 4 of them. We have the focus point, the hide remove element, merge global classes, and text-to-speech converter. I will go through them one by one. Let's start with the focus point. The focus point can be enabled in your theme settings. Go in theme settings, builder tweaks, elements, and in the builder tweaks you see the new focus point. Let's enable it and save the settings. Once done, let's remove this. Once done, let's refresh the builder. And now you will have a new option to set your object position and background position through the focus point model. So let's click on an image. And if we scroll down to the object position, we see a new icon, focus point here. Let's click on it. And you see that it opens the image we just chose. Okay, and you see we have 2 options, the grid and the custom. So let's review both of them. The grid, you can just select one of the 9 positions. So the center right, the center left, the bottom center, bottom right, etc., etc. If we choose this, I'm going to move myself on the other side, and I'm not sure if you see it in the video, but we have here an apply button. If you click on the apply button, you see on the object position now is set to right bottom, just like we choose from the focus point. Okay, so it easily shows you which focus point you will choose on your image. Okay, on the right you see that we have various preview aspect ratios to see how the image will look like. So if we set on the right, you see, or let's say more explicitly on the top right, you see that our image will focus on the top right on all aspect ratio. If I change now on the bottom left, you see that our images will be completely different on different aspect ratio. Okay, so you can control how the image will look like on different aspect ratio without testing inside the builder, inside your browser. You just have the preview here on the right, right? So that's for the grid mode, let's say. Now you have also a custom mode. Let's click on the custom mode. And I have a really big image here. It might be easier if I change image maybe, because this one is really high. But I have no image. Oh, let's change it to this guy, sorry. Okay, and reopen the focus point. It's still really big, but it's okay. On the custom mode, you see you have a little handle here that you can drag, and when you drag this handle, you see that the focus point change on the previews. You can just set the one that you want. So let's say we want to focus on the eyes. You see that on all our preview, the eyes will be focused correctly. Okay, even if we get extremely narrowed height and really large height, the focus is correctly set. If I click again on apply, it will calculate for you the correct position. And on every resize, okay, right now I didn't set a custom height, so you won't see any difference because the image will adapt itself to the container. But if you are using different object position and set your image to be responsive to the browser, you'll see that the object position will be correctly applied to each image. Okay, This works for object position, but it also works for background image. So if I select an image and I will select this woman here, you see now that on the background position, I have my focus point and I can edit the image for this woman. I'm just going, you can just drag and drop the focus point where it looks good for you. For example, here we don't see the eye, so maybe you want to drag it a little bit more here. I don't know, maybe here, something like that. And it looks okay for me on every single aspect ratio. Apply, and you see that the background position is automatically set to custom, and the X and Y axis are calculated correctly. Okay? So this is for the focus point. Let's move on and see the hide and remove element. To enable this new tweak, you can go in theme settings, you can go in elements, and on the bottom, element custom settings, you see a new option, hide remove element controls. You can enable it. It's in orange because it requires AT to be installed on your server. So don't use this setting if you are planning to remove advanced themer on production, because this feature won't work anymore. Okay, but this feature is mainly the purpose of this feature is mainly for production for staging use. So there is nothing really interesting in production here, because it will help you to manipulate the visibility of the controls during the building of your website. Okay, nothing that will add some real value when going on production. So I think it's pretty safe to keep it enabled if you don't rely on it once you go in production. Okay, save settings, and let's refresh the builder. Okay, so let's click on any element, and I'm going to remove myself again. And if you see on the bottom of the element, we have new option, hide and remove element. Two toggles. One is to hide element inside the builder, or remove element on the front end. So now I'm targeting this hero section. If I hide element inside the builder, you see that we don't see it in the preview mode anymore. On the structure panel, you see all the corresponding elements are now red because they are not visible in the builder. Let's save and let's check the preview. Sorry, let's check the front end. On the front end, we'll still see the section. So this visibility control is affecting only the builder, not the front end. Okay, so if we remove it, we see this section back again. Now the other one is remove element on the front end. If I enable it, again, you see that this section is red again. So when it's red, it means that either hide element inside the builder is enabled, or remove element on the front end. One of the two are applied. If I now save this, I've saved the builder and refresh here, you'll see that we don't see the hero section anymore. Okay, so we see it in the builder, but we don't see it in the front end anymore. So why is it useful? Maybe you want to work on a section, but you don't want it to be visible on the front end, and you want to edit it like a draft mode. Okay, and when you feel comfortable to publish it on your site, you just disable this toggle save, and the entire div will be visible on front end. This is one reason. One reason to hide element inside the builder is maybe you have a lot of section. You're getting confused with a lot of elements, and you maybe want just to focus your attention on the leading real estate section. You can just hide elements and just focus on that. Okay. Once you're done, just remember to toggle off the element, and it will be visible again inside the builder. Okay, so these are the advanced hide remove element settings in 2.6. Okay, let's move on. Merge global classes. So now you have the option to merge your classes, your global classes, inside the builder. So let's come back here. I'm going to create 2 classes. Let's create test1. And I'm going to assign 1, 2, 3. Okay, just random values. It doesn't matter really. And let's create test2. On test2, I'm going to create 4, 5, 6. And now I want to merge these 2 classes in one class. Okay. So it's really easy to do. You don't have to copy paste the values. You just have to open the class contextual menu. There is a new option here, merge all classes. Click on it, and you will have the option to put the name of the new class, and let's call it test3. Okay. We can assign a category. I'm going to skip that for now, but you can also add a category to your class that will be visible inside the class manager. And you have 2 options here. You can remove existing classes from the element. So test1 and test2 will be removed, and test3 will be the only class available on the element. And you can also delete existing classes permanently. So let's say you won't use test1 and test2 anymore because your focus is now on test3. You can remove test1 and test2 from the element and delete test1 and test2 from the global class list permanently. Okay, you won't be able to use test1 and test2 anymore. So let's do it. Let's remove existing classes from element and delete existing classes. Okay, and let's just here. You can click on the save icon to save it, or enter. Just click enter. Oh no, sorry. Sorry. It's shift enter. Shift enter. When I click shift enter, you see that my test3 class has been created. And the values from test1 and test2 have been migrated to test3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the values coming from the other 2 classes. Okay? I want to make a little note on global classes, because merging global classes rely on the order of each class. So let's make an example to make it really clear. I want to create test1. Oh, by the way, you see that test1 doesn't exist anymore in the list because we removed it permanently. Okay, so let's recreate test1, and we set color gap to 1. Okay, let's create test2, and for column gap we will set 2. Okay, now these 2 values are conflicting with each other. Okay, so when I'm merging my classes, let's merge all classes, and I'm going to create test4 now, and remove the existing ones. Click on create. You see that 2 is now exported to the test4 class, because test1 was the first, and test2 at 2. Okay, so first the style from the first class are exported, then the second one will override the conflicting values from the first one. Okay, so now if you didn't want it to export 2 but export 1 from the first class, what do you need to do? You need to do this, right? Test1, let's put 1. Okay, test2, let's put 2. But I don't want, if I export now, if I merge the classes, 2 will be the value exported, right? But in Bricks, you can reorder the classes. So if you reorder the class like this, test2 is now the first class and test1 is now the second one, the last one, okay? When we are going to merge the classes and say test5, save, I didn't delete, okay, so it created a new one. But you see that the exported value is now 1. Because first, it copied the test2 styles, and then the 1. And the 1 overrided the test2 values. Okay? I hope it's clear. So, depending on the order of the classes, the overriding rules will change. Alright? So that's for merge class. Last thing about merging classes, let's delete, let's keep this one like this, okay? I'm going to reorder normally, but I'm going to add some CSS. And I'm going to say color red, okay? And test2, I'm going to insert color blue. And you would say that color blue will override color red in test1. Let's see what happens. I'm going to merge all class and test6 this time. Save. And you see that when it's using custom CSS, it doesn't override the values from one to the other, but it copies everything from both classes. And you see that there is a comment, custom CSS from test1 and custom CSS from test2. Okay, so you can now decide which values you want to keep inside test6 in this case, and delete the ones you don't need. But it won't override this field for you. It will combine all the custom CSS into your newly created class. Okay, hope it's clear. Let me know in the comments it's not clear, and I'm going to answer to your question. The last one is the text-to-speech converter. So now if you come back to the builder and open our OpenAI Assistant, we have now a new tab which is called text-to-speech, and it does exactly it. You just have to write some text. Bricks is awesome. Okay. You have some option. You can choose different voices. These voices come from OpenAI, from the API. So these are the voice names used by OpenAI. You have to test them if you want to see the differences. But I'm going to stick with Alloy right now. And you can change also the speed of the speech. Let's keep it 1 for now. Just generate the speech.
Bricks is awesome.
And I don't know if you can hear the text. I'm going to, let's make it higher volume. But if I
Bricks is awesome.
Bricks is awesome. Okay, if I change the voice now, Fable, let's say, regenerate the speech.
Bricks is awesome.
Bricks is awesome. Okay, so the voice changed slightly. You can also click on these 3 dots on the right and download the MP3 file with the generated audio. Okay, so this is an addition. Maybe you have a long text you want to, let's say maybe a post you want to transform in an audio, and you don't need a subscription, another tool to do that. You just copy paste the text inside the user prompt, generate the speech, download the media, and insert the MP3 inside your page. And it's done. and it's super convenient because the price of the text-to-speech conversion is like ridiculous. So now, parenthesis, OpenAI changed the pricing model, so it's not you are not billed every time you use it. You have to put like $10 in your account, and it will scale based on your usage, right? And I think I put $10 something like a couple of months ago, and I'm not yet billed, and I use constantly to make tests to generate things for me, and it's really cheap compared to the ChatGPT, where you have to pay something like 10 or 20, I don't remember, dollars per month to use it. Using the API is really way cheaper than subscription. And now, as you see, we have a lot of features from ChatGPT. You can create text, edit image, create speech to text and text to speech. So the toolbox from the AI extension is relevant, and it's really cheap. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for the new edition and move on to the next category. Okay, user experience improvements. So these are little tweaks to make your life easier inside Advanced Themer. I'm going to quickly review them just to show you what it corresponds inside the builder. So, control pop-ups such as border and box shadow will no longer close when the user selects a CSS variable from the variable picker. So previously, when you were inside the border, let's remove the class. Okay, let's do this right now. Go back in the border. If you open a border, for example, let's remove. I did some tests before, sorry. If you open the variable picker and select any value from here, okay, it will close automatically the pop-up, the border pop-up. You had to reopen the border pop-up and choose another one. So now if you just click on the variable, you see that it's applied inside our field without closing the pop-up window. Okay, so I can reopen a class variable, assign another one, and it just keep open. Same thing for the box shadow. If I want to open here, apply a variable, you see that it doesn't close the pop-up anymore. Okay, first improvement. Second one, sorry. The hide show element option inside the class contextual menu is now visible even when a global class is active. So before, when you open the, let's close this, when you open the class contextual menu on the ID level, you were able to see this hide element tweak, right? And you were able to hide or show your element. But when a class was active, this option wasn't visible anymore. Now, if I open the class contextual menu, even if a global class is active, this option is still visible, and you can hide the element. Keep in mind that even if the global class is active, this tweak isn't targeting the class. If you see the display value here, the display none is inherited from the ID level, and the display none is set on the ID. Okay, whether there is a global class active or not, it is only targeting the ID level. Okay. Third one, updated the delimiter from space to comma when adding multiple classes of variable categories in the corresponding managers. So it's look complicated, but it's really easy. When I open the class manager, before you were able to add multiple categories at once, and the delimiter to do that was an empty space. So test one, let's say test one, test two. Okay, this would create two categories, test one and test two. Now the delimiter to create multiple categories is not a space anymore, because if you wanted to create this is a new category. Okay, you would create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new categories, and this is meant to be one category. So the space was not a correct delimiter. Now it's a comma. And if I create test2 here, click enter, you see that test2 has been created, and this is a new category, is a separated category. Okay, this is true for the class manager, but it's also true for the variable manager. If I want to create my name is Maxime test3, enter, you see that my name is Maxime test3 have been created separately using the comma delimiter. Okay? The top element shortcut icons, it was a CSS issue when in the builder, these icons on top, the shortcuts, the element shortcuts, were overlapping in some context with the class input here. This has been solved. Commented code is now saved in the database even if no further k-up event is triggered in Superpower CSS. Let me explain really quick. In the CSS, Superpower CSS, when you created a rule, let's say color blue, okay, sorry, I want my element to show. Okay, you see that the color blue is applied on this section, right? Before, if I selected my code and clicked on the comment icon here, okay, and if I didn't make any further action, this code wasn't applying to the preview mode. So I needed to do I don't know, color red, and now it would apply correctly. Okay, this was a bug clearly, and now just by clicking the icon, the preview mode is correctly refreshed, and if you save the value, the command code will apply correctly. Okay? Left tab shortcuts no longer require a double click to switch panels when the CSS tab with Superpower CSS enabled is active. So, what does it mean? It means that if you have the left shortcuts on the side here, you probably noticed that when you open the CSS tab, the custom CSS tab, and wanted to navigate through another one, it required a double click to do that. It wasn't responsive to the first click. Now this has been solved. Now I'm inside the custom CSS. If I click gradient, I will open gradient, transform, CSS, transform, CSS. Okay, you don't need a double click, which was pretty annoying to do. Okay, AT models won't close anymore when the mouse button is released outside of the model, but when a mouse down event is fired. So it's probably quite complex to understand, but it's really easy before. Let's I don't know what to open right now. No, I don't want to open this one. I want to open the let's say the variable manager. Okay, and let's open a typography category. Before, if I clicked inside the model, of course everything was working right. But if I kept down my mouse, my click, and released it outside of the model, it would close the model. And this was creating some poor user experience, because if I selected, for example, a field and release my click outside of the model would close, and that's not the intended behavior, of course, of the model. So now the model will close only if you explicitly click outside the model. It will close the model. Okay, it's probably something you didn't understand when it happened, and say, oh, why my model is closed right now? And it was because of this bug right here. And right click of the mouse no longer triggers a resizable function of the structure panel. So this is when you use the resizable structure panel. It could conflict with the left click of the mouse, and then the structure panel would be crazy because even when the click was released, it would still continue to move, right? And it was, of course, a bad user experience as well. So now when you release your mouse, and even if you click on the left click of the mouse, it won't mess with the draggable structure panel. Okay, there are others user experience improvements, but I'm just showing the basic ones. Otherwise, the video would be too long. Okay. Okay. Better strict editor view. So now you have a further option to customize the controls of your editor roles in 2.6. So let's see how it works. Let's open the sample page and open the AT menu, enable the strict editor settings. Okay. And now how it works. So now all my default values, oh, I'm on the hero. I don't want to be on hero. I want to be on an image. Okay. You see that all my default values are, my controls are disabled. So right now, my editor wouldn't be able to edit anything, okay, inside the image. So we probably want to enable at least the content, right? And maybe I want to enable the HTML tag and the source. Now you see, no, let's avoid the source. I don't like the source. HTML tag and the image itself. You see that we have a new icon here, control enabled, showing only on the controls that are globally enabled for this element. So that the left toggle means that for all the images inside your old website, these two fields, two controls, will be editable by your editor, okay? But maybe for this specific image, you don't want them to change the image, for example. Let's say you set a dynamic value for the image, and you don't want them to replace it with a static value, right? You don't want them to mess with dynamic data. And you want this specific image to be hidden for the editor. You just have to click Control Enable to Control Disabled. So that means that just for this image, the editor won't be able to edit it. If I change image now, okay, I just changed to another image, you see that both controls are still visible because these apply to all the images on the website, but for this specific control, no setting has been set. Okay, so the editor will still be able to edit this specific image, but the other one, the one we changed before, this one won't be editable. So let's make the test. I'm going to save here. I'm going also to save my strict editor settings. Okay. And I'm going to change my role. So let's go to users. Let's jump to editor. Okay. And let's go to my sample page. Take over. So if I click on this image, sorry, I don't remember which one. Oh no, because sorry. I need to do a couple of things before because it's not selectable right now. Okay, we need to go back. Let's go back in the settings. Sorry. It's good, so you can see, you can debug my errors for you too. If you go to the strict editor view, elements, you see that nothing here is selectable right now, okay? And that's not what we want. We want to at least select the image. Of course, you can customize your selection here, but for now, we're just going to do this and save. Okay, now we can go back to the users, switch to our page, all page, and the sample page. Okay. Now I should be able to click on my image. Okay, but you see that the first image, my editor can't change the content of this image because we specifically set this image to be to have this control hidden. But if I click on the other one, you see that the other one, he can change this static image. Okay, so this is the proof to show you that you can customize the editor experience on a global level. So for all the image, you can set the field that your user are able to change for all the images, but also per image, and select, for example, the example, the most common example that comes in mind is to avoid your editor messing with dynamic data, and this way you can do that. Okay, let's stop here for the strict editor view. A couple of mentions here. The default setting have been revamped. So if you didn't watch my previous video about getting started with Advanced Themer, I make a selection of the builder tweaks you probably want to activate when you start using it. And now all the recommended value settings are now set by default. Okay, so if you go, sorry, let's go back to my administrator. Take over, let's go back to the dashboard. Okay, in the theme settings, right now I already saved and made changes, so it won't apply anymore. But if I go to global settings and reset my AT settings right here, I won't do that for now because I have other things I want to show you. Maybe, I don't know. If you reset the settings, all the default values will come back, will be reset, and all the recommended settings inside all the panels will be already set for you. Okay, so when you install Advanced Themer on a fresh installation, or if you reset the settings through the backend, you have access to the recommended settings, and you don't have to worry about which one you should add, which one will conflict with another. Everything is set for you, right? Okay, let's say goodbye to some tweaks. So some have been deprecated. The first deprecated is media queries indicators, and because it was integrated in 1.9.8 release of Bricks. The same thing for the expand spacing. So I want to just clarify here that the expand spacing still exists. Okay, it's not completely removed, because if I deselect it, save my settings, and relaunch my builder, let's say how it looks like in 1.9.8. If I open the layout, you have this typical layout here from the last version of Bricks. And you see here we have switch from the old view. This is the old view, and the new view. Okay, but I'm still not super happy that the top and the bottom are not full width. So if we enable our tweak, expanding spacing control, save control, and refresh, you'll see that we will come back to the previous layout in Advanced Themer, because if I open layout now, my top here is full width, and the icons are correctly aligned, and personally I prefer this view. So I kept the builder tweak just to make it the larger for variables and functions and things like that. Okay, this is the first goodbye. The other one, the switch. So now the expand switch, as you see, is native in Bricks. So I removed the AT switch. Okay, but it will create the same effect, of course. All the global CSS variable categories. So we already reviewed the CSS variable integration. But now in 2.6, if I go to the CSS variables, there are no categories here anymore because everything is managed on the builder. Okay, you just have the import framework tab. You can still import your own framework inside Advanced Themer, and you can disable the theme variables. I won't cover that anymore because I already talked about it in the previous section of this video. The last goodbye is the ACSS and core framework integrations inside the variable picker are no longer available. Why? So before, in the variable picker, if you had ACSS or core framework installed on your server, you had a tab where you could list all the variables from both frameworks, right? This was useful when ACSS didn't integrate it Plaster, okay? And so now they did, they purchased Plaster, and then they have a variable picker integrated with ACSS. And Core Framework created its own variable picker. So there is no need to have it integrated in AT, since I revamped the variable picker from scratch for this release. I questioned myself, should I keep it? And I think all ACSS users are using the right-click variable picker to select their value. It makes more sense because it's up to date with the variables of the framework, and I'm not really willing to keep it updated when ACSS has already a functional tweak for this, and the same goes for the core framework integration. So now the variable picker will display only values from native Bricks categories or your framework that you imported through the theme settings. Okay? Last word of this video, a couple of words for ACF. As you all know that this release include the restriction from ACF. ACF doesn't allow anymore to manage your pro fields if you don't have a license from ACF. But for clients from Advanced Themer that purchased Advanced Themer before 1st April 24, you still can enable the pro fields, okay? But you have to reactivate your license to do that, okay? So when you will update 2.6, if you don't reactivate your license, your Advanced Themer license, not ACF, of course. So if you don't go into manage your license here and reactivate your license, until you don't reactivate your license, you won't have access to your pro fields, okay? You will be considered like you have purchased your license after 1st April. Once you reactivate your license, all should be good and you should have access to your fields. Don't worry if you don't reactivate immediately your license, your front end won't be affected. Okay, it will only affect your ability to modify these custom fields and custom post types using in ACF on the back end. Okay, so on the front end point of view, you are safe whether you purchased it before or after 1st April. Doesn't change anything. Okay. Okay, I think I'm clear. I hope I'm clear. Let me know in the comment if something needs some clarification, right? And I hope to see you soon, guys. Okay, bye bye.